What you hear is true. RCR visits the live music capital of the world in the Lone Star State. Austin, Texas plays host to many live events, but none other like the United States Grand Prix. Round 19, we're closing in on the end of this championship, and it's still as close as ever between CJ and Binary. But first, the circuit, 5.5 kilometers, 20 corners, 9 go right and 11 go left. 2 DRS zones, the first on the start-finish straight and the second on the long back straight. Both all offer plenty of overtaking opportunities. Hello everybody and welcome. Apologies if you saw the beginning of that stream that didn't kick off. The audio wasn't there at all, or it seemed like it weren't, so I had to redo it. Either way, we are getting underway in the action already, and we are already about to begin a lap with one Huff and Dobak, who starts his way down and then uphill to the left-hander, the sharp, almost hairpin of turn 1. Here where we saw drivers coming together and being pushed off in the actual race last week. Hopefully here though, no such thing. Huff and Dobak hooking it up through those S's. It's incredibly difficult to keep control of the car through there. You want to obviously maintain a top speed whilst navigating those. And then down he goes to turn 11. Hooking it up. You want to get nice and tight to the apex. Get a good exit, because now you are flat out all the way down to turn 12. The DRS zone has been moved a bit further along, and there it goes. DRS open for Huff and Dobak coming up to 12, and then the left-hander that follows that as well. Got to get it hooked up nicely, and then move your car over to the track. Let it roll through turns 13, 14 and 15 wide outside the apex, because then you're going to pinch back in, tuck across the line, and then open the corner up for this triple right-hander that follows. It is incredibly intense. In the race, you're carrying loads of fuel, and you can actually lose the car on heavily worn tyres, so the drivers will be wanting to switch early on in the race. But as Huff and Dobak continues, he's about to round out the final corner, come across the line, and he puts in a 1:31.6 for his trouble. Binary in the pits. Lex is about to cross the line, and he puts in a 32.1. So Lex on the back foot then. We've got a couple of other drivers out on track. CJ just beginning his lap now as well, and Chris Takis coming across for his lap as well. He's down at turn 11. David Kovalaki, he puts in a 32.758. Oh, good stuff from him. He sets a time, but it's only good enough for third and 0.6 off the next fastest driver. So quite a bit to improve for David. We're going to go across now to find Santry, who's coming up to the final corner. And these are our first runs in turn 1 as Santry puts it in P2, pips Lex by 0.4 of a second. A massive effort from Santry there. JMC. Here's Chris Takis. Seen a few drivers in the actual US Grand Prix there this year. Spin off. Chris puts it in P4. It's a 32.394. Just goes to show all these drivers so close together, and yet when the track times start to ramp up, I can see bigger gaps. Maybe some people haven't had as much practice. Here comes our Mr. DJ CJ. He's on a 31 by the looks of it. It does cross the line. It's a 31.9. That's good enough for P3 and the second row. Owen just coming down that back start finish straight. Owen's doing well lately in RCR. Last week, not so much. Started 12th, finished 7th. Currently got 86 points in the Drivers' Championship. Not in contention for the title. I'll tell you what, it looks like he's in contention for the fastest lap. Fastest in the second sector so far. Now he's contending with that triple right-hander. Owen goes P3 with the 31.8. An active JMC has just begun his lap. The rest of the drivers who are out on track are all on in laps. Active JMC fastest in the first sector. What will he do? As he does get a nice exit. Out to turn 11. Here he goes. Coming up through sector 3. He's done well so far. What time does active JMC have in his back pocket at the moment? It's looking like he may be in the 32s. Maybe even worse, actually. 29 on the corner. 32, 33. And it's actually a 34.3. So, may have been fastest in the first sector. But he lost the rest of it in the following two. We have people on outlaps at the moment. Owen comes into the pits after doing his in-lap. The first one on the track to begin his next actual qualifying lap looks to be Binary, who is second in the championship currently. 15 points between him and I'm Mr. DJ CJ, who's currently sat provisionally on the second row and on the back spot on the second row. Binary could do with a good performance here. Still all to play for in the championship. Does well. Looks like BXTN almost came across, but not too distracting for Binary as he puts in the fastest first sector of anybody so far, sweeping through the S's, then uphill, downhill. This is where a Ferrari in 2020 actually broke its suspension quite abnormally on them curbs and retired from the race. Both Ferraris suffering similar fates that day. Binary has been quick in practice. And now he's just got to hook it all up, get it together. He's not fastest in the second sector. But you don't have to be the fastest outright. You just have to be the fastest across the whole lap. Let's see if he's got that in the tank. Very difficult to get this corner right. Very, very deceiving. Sweeping left-hander. But if you carry that car with too much speed, it will definitely invalidate your lap time. As Binary puts in a 31.488, exactly what he needed to do. 2/10 ahead of Huff and Dolbach. The XTN begins his lap. Chris begins his as well. Who have we got next to cross this line? Lex currently 5/10 up on his time, maybe looking to usurp Binary from provisional pole. 5/10 in two sectors. It's definitely possible. He's going to do a 31.5. He only misses out by a few hundredths of a second and puts it in P2. We're on board with BXTN, who is yet to set a lap here. We want to go through the previous podiums here in Texas. Websy BXTN shared the podium in the first season. Websy's been on the podium twice here. BXTN only once, and the rest of the drivers on the grid here today have all yet to finish on the podium here at COTA across the 4 seasons that we've done before. BXTN, RCR's first ever drivers champion. and a triple Constructors Champion with him and Websy. He crosses the line. It's a 31.422 and proves the accolades that I just mentioned before. Absolutely worthy. He's worthy of them. Puts it on provisional pole. Binary boxes after seeing his time be absolutely decimated. Not decimated, really. 600ths of a second by BXTN, but it is advantage BXTN, and his teammate crosses the line now and puts in a 31.6. He's got no answer for his teammate, but it puts him on the second row. And I'm Mr. DJ CJ, our current championship leader, is down in 8th place currently, although this track is ramping up and anything can still happen. CJ starting his lap now. Looks like he's already done an out lap and he's doing another one here. Another lap. Must have messed up the first one somehow and thought better of it. Slight lock-up into turn 1. And that's going to do him absolutely no favours. Did very well there. You see how he almost cut the corner entirely. Fastest in the first sector. Kept it within the white lines though, and it's all perfectly legal. So long as it's within the white lines of the racetrack. Hard on the brakes again. And using as much track as possible. Did well not to scrub off the speed out of that corner. Great exit. And now down to turn 12. Let's see. Binary were fastest in the first and not the second sector. And again, it's reflected here. CJ fastest in the first, but not in the second sector. Maybe BXTN has CJ's number here today. He's got a massive 5/10 to gain. He's only currently up 1/10. Maybe it's all made up in the final 2 corners. It's definitely possible. He's currently on a 25. He's got 5 more seconds before he crosses the line. And is he going to do it ahead of BXTN? No, he's not. He puts it up 3/10. Puts himself 5th. Just behind BXTN's teammate Websy. Owen out on a lap. Botany Goblin still remains in the pits. Ace on a lap as well. Owen a little bit out of place at the moment. He was out of place last week as well, and he really needs to get this together here and put in a good time. I wonder if it's a lack of practice maybe. He's definitely got pace, but it's not showing up here at COTA so far. And just as I say that, fastest second sector, Owen. Advantage, Owen at the moment. 4/10 to gain. And will that pace show up in the McLaren liveried car? Tribute to Ayrton Senna. One more left-hander to go before we know if Owen does have provisional pole. Crosses the line. It's a 31.534. Just like CJ misses out by just fractions. Just a 10th of a second. But it's enough. It's enough to stop Owen from taking pole position, and that will be his last opportunity to do so. So he can only move down from here. There's only 1 minute and 55 seconds left in the session. Owen will have to do another lap, a conservative lap to recharge the batteries, not work the tyres, and I don't think he's got that available to him right now. Active JMC was on a lap, but looks like he's abandoned it. Ace was on a lap, but he's invalidated it. The next driver currently on a lap, David Kovalaki, down in 10th place. 13 drivers in this session. And yet, 3 of them may not score points here today. You want to try and do your absolute best in qualifying, because there's been plenty of drivers that have lots of pace but fail in qualifying. There's only one qualifying session here today. So it all counts in these last 45 seconds. Davy's running up to some traffic. It's going to have to get out of his way. BXTN does well to do so. And the car ahead of him. Here goes David. Lots of traffic to contend with. Chris Takis unfortunately did not know that that was a driver on a lap. And that has unfortunately ruined David's lap. Crosses the line. It's a 32.548. CJ has retired from the session. Where has CJ retired? He's retired in the pit lane. And we're going to see who is next to cross the line here. We've got Lex coming up. He's currently down on his time. 600ths of a second currently down on his time. He's still got time. He's still got another sector to make it all up, though. Let's see if Lex can do it. It's only a 10th of a second between him and BXTN. Lex has taken pole plenty of times here before. He's a winner 5 times in RCR so far. He's invalidated his lap on the corner that I said that you have to avoid doing it. Here comes Huff and Dolbach. He manages to keep it within the track limits. Heartbreak for Lex. He crosses the line. Huff and Dolbach goes second. Massive job from him. There goes Santry, who puts in a 31.6. Next up, Owen has invalidated his time. Active JMC, has he got a lap time in? Still on a valid lap currently. Lots to improve on. But currently on a 34. 2 seconds behind the next car. 31. It's going to be a 32. 32.7. And here comes Chris to cross the line. It's a 30. 1.5 doesn't really improve. BXTN improves further on his time. Binary boxes. BXTN currently on provisional pole. David Kovalaki, the last on a lap. Ace, unfortunately, invalidated his lap too. So there you go then. That is qualifying all wrapped up and neatly put in the box. BXTN has done it, and he's done it by a full 10th of a second to his teammate, who looked to be taking provisional pole away from him, but it wasn't enough. Websy with a 31.3, BXTN with a 31.273, and just marginally ahead of his teammate. But it is the two teammates on the front row of the grid. Good effort from Huff and Dolbach. He is in 3rd place, but we'll run through the grid as we end this session. Okay then, so we'll go through the grid one more time. BXTN and Websy, the two teammates on the front row. BXTN with a massive provisional pole position, which converted obviously into the pole. Huff and Dolbach and Binary share the 2nd row. Lex and Owen on the 3rd. Santry and I, Mr. DJ, on the 4th. Chris Takis and David Kovalaki on the 5th row, and those are last points paying places. Active JMC, Cottony Goblin on the 6th row, and all on his own on the 7th row, Ace, who was unable to set a representative time and unfortunately rolled across the line with a 35, 2 seconds slower than the next driver to him. And we have rain here in COTA. Now, before this session, as Santry gives us a big thumbs up, before this session, BXTN said to us, I hope that it rains. He hoped that it rains because he thought that Binary would have been on pole. Now, BXTN does quite well in the rain usually. And I bet he regrets his words now, because in the dry, his perfect dry setup that he set up for this session in the practice just before, and he was very happy with the car, is now maybe useless. So he'll be kicking himself, that's for sure. Anyway, we'll go through the drivers' standings as the drivers select their strategies for the race. I'm Mr. TJ CJ. As I said earlier on in the session, he's currently in first in the Drivers' Championship, but just 15 points ahead of Binary. And, well, there's 6 rounds left in this. Round 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. All yet to go. Binary second, as I said, 15 points behind. Next to them, though, BX10. He's still in the championship hunt and is gaining today if the qualifying grid finishes as it stands. Lex in 4th place, 63 points behind, still within a shout of winning this championship as well, if all goes well for him. But as of late, Lex has been having, well, actually had been having a bad run of luck. His worst ever finish was 10th place. However, last week, turned it all around, started second and finished first in Mexico. It's in Singapore, sorry, not Mexico. Thinking about actual Formula One there. Websy, 114 points behind. He's essentially out of the championship now. But as you can see, the constructors standings, constructors is still very much alive. Websy and BXTM both in RB, up against the two key drivers' championship contenders, both of them in Red Bulls. As I said before, COTA, that is the wrong standings. Very nice, very professional. I did set up the right standings, but yeah, when the stream crashed, it got rid of it. There we go. Calendar, sorry, not standings. So yeah, we're going to be doing America and then Mexico. As I said in the stream before, COTA, 20 corners, 11 go left and 9 go to the right. An anti-clockwise circuit. One of very few, actually, anti-clockwise circuits. In 2002, Ferrari recorded the 8th 1-2 finish of the 2002 season. That wasn't here, though. That was in the United States Grand Prix at Indianapolis. Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello finished in a different order to what had been expected. Schumacher led almost all of the race until the final meters when he slowed in an attempt to stage a photo finish with his teammates, which slightly went wrong, because Schumacher failed to do so, and Barrichello was awarded the win. It is thought that Schumacher was repaying Barrichello after the Brazilian had moved aside for him at the final corner of Austria earlier in the season. At 11 hundredths of a second, this is the closest margin since the introduction of the timing to the nearest thousandth of a second. So then, plenty to go through as the drivers get their strategies set up before the start of the race. Track, of course, lots of history. It's actually where Kimi Räikkönen recorded his final Formula One win in 2018. He took his final win for Ferrari and the final win of his career. It was long awaited. As the formation lap is about to begin, BXTN rolls away and we will see what tyre everyone is on. I expect intermediates. I have been wrong before. No lap data needed. All tyres, yes, and intermediates on. So maybe the track will dry up throughout the race, which will cause a little bit of jeopardy. If you are new to the stream and you have Formula 1 24 and you would like to join, if you're watching on PC at least, you can scan the QR code on your screen right now, join our Discord server, and we will get you set up to join. You can race the final 5 rounds of the season. And then get set up to join us for Season 6, which starts early next year. Races every Tuesday at 9:30 PM UK time. Most successful driver on this grid, as I said before, is Websy with 2 podiums. The X10 will be the second to him. And would you look at that? Both of them on the front row currently. Expect chaos at the start. Traction is going to be slow off the line due to the wet weather. Driver's going to have to keep control of their car. There's going to be spray because of the amount of traction going through the wheels and the cars bunched together. And then it's the uphill battle into turn 1 where drivers trip over themselves in the dry. So it's very much expected that drivers will trip over themselves in the wet as well. Here we go then. All the drivers getting lined up on the grid. This is very important for Binaries. Currently 4 places ahead of CJ just off the start of this race, but the rain definitely throwing some unpredictability into the mix. Everyone now lined up. We're ready to go. And it's lights out. Away they go. And BXTN does get off the line slightly better than his teammate Websy, who's then looking up on the inside of turn 1 maybe. He backs off slightly, but that's allowed some cars on the outside and somebody's just been pinched. I think that was Lex pinched between 2 cars. Nowhere he could go. And unfortunately for him, manages to keep his front wing. But here we go then. Somebody's fallen down the order massively. That's Santry at the back there. Struggling to keep control of his car. You saw him kick the back end out a little bit just at the beginning of the XS's, and Owen has made his way past CJ. No, CJ's making his way past Owen as he picks up 6th place immediately off the start from 8th into 6th, but then runs wide just before turn 11. There's going to be loads of scuffling together as Chris Takis comes up the inside of Owen and manages to pull off an amazing move, maybe, as he's now going to have to allow the traction to roll through. And who's got the better setup for the straight line speeds? Probably Chris, dumping the battery there to try and maintain his position ahead. You can just see somebody moving up the inside there. That's Active JMC on David into turn 12. And David's coming back at him though, and he's going to have the inside line through 13, 14. David and Active battling it out. Active back on the inside of the corner. He's been side by side together throughout the entirety of this section of circuit. And Active has taken 9th place away from David. And David, you could just see, struggling to keep control of the car after being a little bit out of place on track. BXTN crosses the line. Also, kick of oversteer there. It would have put him under pressure from Websy. These two, though, storming away from Huff and Dolbach, who's currently in 3rd, but 1.1 seconds, 1.2 seconds already behind Owen and Chris. Also, jostling for position. CJ may be doing everything he can here. Already up into 6th place. He knows he's got to make every point count here. Maybe not his circuit, qualifying in 8th. He's been incredibly consistent this season with his finishes. His actual worst finish of the season is 5th. CJ up past. Made his way past Owen and now he's going after Lex. Just 2/10 behind the Polish driver now, as Chris and Owen still side by side. This time Owen on the inside of turn 13 and has managed to pick up that place and then covers off the line to stop Chris from diving down the inside, and he's managed to do that. Covers it off entirely as they come up to the triple right-hander, and I bet it's incredibly hard to keep control of the car through here. It's just 1/10 now between CJ and Lex. But Lex also closing up to the back of Binary as BXTN sets the fastest lap of the race so far. It's a 46.9. Definitely not a 41. That would be very impressive. What a fantastic opening lap, and Lex did well. Lex got lucky actually to not lose his front wing off that start as he got pinched by the two cars. Did very well to get out of it, and he's lives to fight another day. But now he's got CJ breathing down his neck, and maybe CJ looking to take 5th place away from Lex and then hunt after Binary, his teammate, but also his championship contender. Both of them never won a championship in RCR. In the 4 seasons that have come before, neither have won a Drivers' Championship. CJ been in all 4 of them. And this will be key for the season as it goes forward. CJ's been pulling out a little bit of a gap as of late. The Binary over these past couple of races. Got it up to 15 points, but it's been incredibly close throughout the entire season. Looking further down the field, David Kovalaki and Chris getting very close together. Chris struggling in the wet weather, it seems, as Websy puts in the fastest lap of the race so far, a 46.6, but that's then pipped immediately by Owen, who's got pace, and he's now chasing after CJ after his long fought battle with Chris. He managed to get the place back, and now he's looking to take 6th away from CJ. David has nearly overtaken Chris, but Chris pinches that place back. David a bit deep into turn 1 he goes, and unfortunately now back down into 9th. Gonna have to do it all over again. It's interesting, isn't it? These gaps still not changing even in the wet weather. It just shows how close they all are in terms of driver skill. An active JMC has picked up a 3-second time penalty already, no doubt, through those tricky S's of the circuit. We may see some more penalties come throughout this race. Websy may have been fastest of the 2 on the last lap, but he's now already 1.1 seconds behind BXTN. BX responding. And to me, to be honest with you, it looks like this track is drying up. It looks like this track is drying up massively. The rain easing off a little bit. So far, BXTN has pulled away from Websy. We're going to move down, though, because this is where the key battles are. Binary, Lex, CJ, Owen, all very close together and all essentially fighting for 4th place in this race. Those 12 points would be very important to any of them, as long as they score it over the other. Everyone at the moment in the championship contention is scoring more points than our championship leader, though. And he needs to do something about it. Trying to close in. He's made a couple of attempts. He's closed back up to 6/10. And he's just done the fastest first sector of anybody. So that he does know that he's got to make this count, and he's utilising the entirety of the track to do so. And it's here, isn't it? Binary actually so close to Huff and Dolbach and almost picking up 15 points, but he's just kicked out the back end, and that's going to really hurt his exit out of turn 11. Fortunately for him, though, it looks like he's got plenty of battery and plenty of straight line speed to defend from Lex. We have seen this before from Lex, where he'll sit behind the car ahead rather than make the overtake. Don't know whether that's down to his setups being usually more draggy or just more cautious than other drivers. But he does spend plenty of time looking at the gearbox of others that he may be faster than. Gets stuck very easily. And while Lex is stuck behind Binary, Binary is looking to take third place away from Huff and Dolbach. Keeps on dipping out of the toe there. And he's going to try and make the move. He makes the move into turn 1. Tries to be late on the brakes, but Huff and Dolbach beats him to it. He's going to take the inside of turn 2. And it looks like Huff and Dolbach, Binary is trying to go side by side with Huff. And it looks like Binary may have just got away with it. No, he hasn't. The two still side by side all the way through. And Binary has to back off because it's getting too dangerous. His championship hopes all ride on him finishing ahead of CJ, not Huff and Dolbach. He's already doing that job as Active JMC has retired from the race and has caused a safety car through the S's. Active JMC has somehow gone off and the full course safety car has come out to join us for what will be the nth race in a row. These drivers all have a choice. Box onto fresh tyres or wait it out. I would assume that they are all going to box onto fresh inters, because this track has yet to dry up. And even though the rain has backed off, it doesn't look like it's drying up anytime soon. But they don't have to pit. And they'll be wondering how far these intermediate tyres can go. They'll all be checking the tyre wear at the moment. Could they take them to the end? From lap 1 to lap 28. BXTN pulls the trigger, boxes. This is going to cause a chain reaction. His teammate as well comes into the pits. However, somebody is going to miss out here because these are F1 World cars. These aren't the cars that all share the pit boxes of the teammates, because there you go, Huff and Dolbach, who's the teammate to BXTN or shares the same garage as BXTN, but it would happen anyway because all of them would be sharing a pit box with somebody. So then Owen comes out in first place and gets picked up by the safety car. He is the race leader. Christakis also chooses to stay out. There's a few that have chosen to stay out. Others, though, the rest, we've got 4 drivers. We've got Owen, Chris, Ace, and Cottony. All choosing to stay out. Ace and Cottony, interestingly, not really benefiting from staying out on those tyres. You would think that they would come in, switch over because they are so far down the field. Cottony, maybe, he's thinking, you know, 8th place is good for me. But really speaking, you're going to move back from there. CJ is behind you, and CJ normally finishes ahead of you, so you know that's one place. If I was Cottony, I would not be at, or Ace, I would not be at a tyre disadvantage just to pick up a place that only gains me 2 points. We could see them change their minds and come into the pits, but so far, they have stayed out. at the moment. Safety car will probably go down for a few laps and then come back in. This will be the second we're seeing somebody coming into the pits. That's COTA and Goblin. So it does decide to switch over. This should trigger Ace to do the same, but he has not. So Ace choosing to stay out, picks up another place, but he's now on 7-lap old intermediate tyres. COTA giving up that place. He's got a slight advantage over those ahead of him now, as they've all done one slow lap on the inter tyre, where he's done none. Lewis Hamilton, the most successful driver at United States Grand Prix, with 6 victories, including 5 out of 12 races held at the Circuit of the Americas. Michael Schumacher previously held the record for the most United States Grand Prix wins. He recorded 5 victories at Indianapolis between 2005 and 2006. The 2005... Sorry, not 2005, 2006. Between 2000 and 2006. The 2005 season, however, with the United States Grand Prix, was a race to forget. It was far from Formula One's finest hour. Several of the Michelin tyre failures caused major accidents for both Ralf Schumacher and Ricardo Zonta, and the tyre manufacturer advised that without slowing in the banked section of track, they could not guarantee that the tyres would withstand the load generated. FIA was unwilling to compromise, and it just turned out that all teams that were running the Michelin tyre decided not to run the race. Only left the Ferraris, the Jordans and the Minardis lining up on the grid. So it was a very dull affair indeed. Safety car coming in this lap. And it's now all up to Owen to run away with it. He'll be hoping for. Him and Chris both on used intermediate tyres. The rest on fresh, apart from Ace. Strategically benefiting Owen and Chris. Ace, maybe not so much. He's running down, paying off 2 points at the moment. But it's all about what Owen does here. And he has pulled the trigger straight out of turn 19. He goes. And already a slight gap over Chris. But Chris pulling it back to him now. 4 tenths between the two of them. And BXTN hot on the heels of the red car ahead. Look at him tucked up. Tucked in. And then ahead of Chris into turn 1. And that may be a sign of things to come for those that stayed out on the intermediate tyre. We've got Ace and David. David almost coming up through the field, but then something has happened with David, and Santry is boxed onto hard tyres. Very interesting choice. And Owen is being snapped at. His heels are being snapped at by BXTN, who wants first place back. As on the inside, Webster goes on Chris into turn 11. Slight bumper wheels there, but Webster gets the move done. I don't think there was any damage. I just think they all kind of closed a little bit, and they've had a little bit of contact. But so long as BXTN pulls out to the outside of turn 12, that's going to be an interesting move. He's going to get the inside of 13, though, and I think that's what he's banking on, and that's exactly what he has banked on, and he's taken second place away from Owen. And this track is drying up. Santry trying to call it. He's going to struggle, though, on those hard tyres. You can see the delta between Santry and David at the moment. Santry is struggling on the hard tyre. Maybe a bit too early to go on to the hards. Everyone will be looking at Santry and using him as kind of the guinea pig to know when this track dries up. BX10 with the fastest lap of the race. Websy trying to overtake Owen. Owen moves to the inside of turn 1. We got 2 cars there as well. Huff and Dolbach trying to make his way up past Binary, and does so. And Binary clips the back end of Huff. And that's now putting pressure And the rain has stopped. The rain has definitely stopped here. All the drivers will be coming in this lap. And CJ all over the back of Binary, and Binary knows it. Huff and Dobak made his way up past Binary. 1.4 seconds off Websy. Websy still hasn't overtaken Owen. Maybe he wanted to do that very soon. Maybe into turn 12. Yeah, he's going to wait just for one more corner. CJ and Binary so close together. Look at them as CJ almost power slides through turn 11. That's going to, unfortunately for him, affect his exit. As Ace picks up another 3-second time penalty. Inside of 12, Websy goes. He picks up second place, takes it back off Owen. But Owen, as Chris has boxed onto the hard tyre. Got a few drivers on the hard tyre now. And all the drivers, no doubt, will be coming into the box soon. Let's see what BX10 does. We've got a caution in Sector 1. BXTM boxes. BXTM boxes gets very close to the inside wall of the pit lane. Websy opts to stay out for another lap. Everyone in the pits, and let's see which order they shake up out of. Binary has stayed out as well. And away they go. CJ ahead of Lex. Oh, he's not. Sorry. And it'll be hard for them. Yes, it will be very hard for them. On the wet track. Tyres giving way. It may be drying on the track, but it was very wet in the pit lane. And CJ almost loses the back end there. All over the back of Lex. Lex loses the place and goes off into the runoff area. Comes back onto the track. Almost takes out Huff and Dolbach. Huff and Dolbach did very well to avoid that contact. I think he had an out-of-body experience there as he almost clipped the back end of Lex. Lex losing that place to CJ. They're both struggling on these intermediate, on these hard tyres. And the people, the drivers running on the inter still, Websy and Binary, maybe, just maybe, have played this to perfection. Oh, in 23 seconds off Websy. Maybe a bit overcautious from the two of them, though. I would have said that the track would have dried up here. Binary, fastest lap of the race so far. And he is chasing down Websy, isn't he? Binary can smell blood. He's done an absolutely perfect strategy, as has Websy. But Binary knows how important this is for his championship. BXTN has moved behind CJ. And the entire order has been shaken up. We're looking to see the gap between Owen and Binary and how much it changes. And Owen's still losing ground. Still losing lots of ground. CJ and BXTN. 1.9 seconds. There's a yellow. Who is that for? Over now. Off and Dolbach with a new front wing. So he's obviously made a mistake. And had to get that changed. He boxes onto the medium tyre. He's looking to take that till the end. Medium's normally going about 12 laps. It's interesting to see, isn't it? And it looks like still Binary pulling away from Owen. The rain has stopped, but the track still isn't dry. Websy comes into the pits. Websy boxes. Websy doesn't box. Websy crashes into the barrier on the entry of turn 1. On the entry into the pits, Websy crashes into the barrier, so he's going to have to get a new front wing. And that has unfortunately ruined Websy's... Let's see where Owen comes out. He was 34 seconds ahead. Websy onto the mediums as well. And where does this land Websy? He's going to be comfortably ahead. But this essentially puts Binary into the net lead. Unless Binary is on the wrong tyre throughout the lap and Websy can claw back that time. There's 24 seconds between them. You can see just how much Websy is struggling on those tyres. 24 seconds between the two of them and it keeps on going up and up and up. Everyone's boxed early apart from Binary. And Binary had Owen behind as kind of like an indicator. To how the track was performing and what kind of pace it was giving. Ace has retired from the session. It's a DNF and a virtual safety car, and that is exactly where Binary will pit if he can get there while the safety car is active. Virtual safety car out on track. The drivers have to drive to a delta time. Cannot exceed a certain pace. You'll see the gaps all remain similar. It just slows down the race. Oh, the track is cleared. And we are green again, so Binary. Websy's now 40 seconds off Binary. That's massive, isn't it? The track just refusing to dry. The overcast clouds. As Websy is losing the place to Owen. Owen trying on the inside. Websy's obviously made a mistake. Lost all that time. Binary still flying through. And Owen has made his way up past Websy. And Owen is closing in. Look at that. Websy's lost his front wing. So that's where that went. Websy... Unless he didn't get it changed. And he's just got a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Websy's race goes from bad to worse. They'll be absolutely fuming. And Binary is still pulling away. I thought Owen was closing in on Binary, but still, as Owen almost loses the back end as well. This is absolutely crazy. Through this entire race so far, I cannot believe that the track is not raining anymore, and it's just refusing to dry. And Binary's done 7 laps on these intermediate tyres, 5 of which I feel like it's not even been raining, and the track still hasn't dried up. The drivers took an early call, saw that it stopped raining, took the early gamble. And now there's one driver just storming off into the lead of this race. He's now 39.8, 39.9, 40 seconds ahead of the next driver to him. That's essentially a free pit stop for Binary. When he eventually does box onto the dry tyre, he'll probably be able to box again if he wants and set the fastest lap close to the end. Lex has moved on to the soft tyre to see how that works. No driver dare go back onto the intermediate. CJ at the moment in 5th. This is essentially damage control for him. In 3rd, sorry, scoring 15 points. We've got a yellow flag through sector 1. That's Lex off the track. And they're all struggling. Lex on these new, fresh, soft tyres. Won't have any heat generated into them, and they'll be struggling on the wet track. Just think about the shine on those tyres and how they deal with a wet surface. Binary just has to keep on putting in these laps, doesn't he? He doesn't need to do anything now. The moment that Owen starts to catch on him is the moment that he boxes. He's now essentially He's immune, isn't he? He's in this lead, and it would take a lot to dislodge him from it. His binary's race to lose now. And this is exactly what he needed. The performance that he needed. He's currently scoring 10 points over his championship rival. And that will bring him 5 points into contention for the championship. We're on round 19 of 24. And there would just be 5 points between first and second in the Drivers' Championship. Back onto the intermediates goes Huff and Dolbach. Lex has retired from the session in the pit lane. So Lex has given up. Huff and Dolbach on these intermediate tyres. And I'm going to say that I feel like he left it a bit too late. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's see what he can do. On the outside of David Kovalaki, he tries to go. Switch back on the inside. Great move and great that he's now up into 8th place and now setting after Cottony Goblin. That time is now fluctuating between Binary and Owen. If I was Binary, I'd be boxing around now. Binary boxes now. He's guaranteed to at least maintain the pace that he's on. But is he going to do that? Yes, he is. Into the pits he comes then. The race leader, 41.140 seconds as of crossing the line into the pit lane ahead of Owen. And it's essentially a free pit stop. When he comes out, he'll be ahead 20 seconds over the next driver to him. It's an absolute blinder of a strategy onto those intermediate tyres. And guess what? They're guaranteed to go onto the medium tyres, and they're guaranteed to go all the way to the end. Very simple strategy. Playing perfectly into Binary's hands. The only one not to fall for the trap, and Huff and Dolbach was the only one who went back onto the intermediates. And I feel like he's done it all but too late. He is fastest in the first sector. But I think we'll start to see as Owen puts in the fastest lap of the race. And this is where Huff and Dolbach will be thinking, ah, crap. Oh dear. How much of a mistake I made. If you were going to switch back onto the intermediate, it should have been 4 laps ago, if you were going to do it at all. I think most people were just resigned to being on this dry tyre now. There's no point in coming back in and switching unless you had a lot to gain and not a lot to lose. Website fastest lap of the race. And there's some work to do for the drivers behind Binary on brand spanking new medium tyres. He's already got a tyre delta advantage to the driver behind. And he's also got a tyre advantage entirely. He's on the softer compound to most the drivers from 2nd to 5th. All on hard tyres at the moment. Huff and Dolbach, fastest lap of the race, a 41.562. He's flying at the moment. I'm still inclined to think, though, this next lap, that may all change. Currently, the delta between him and Cottony Goblin sat at a 17.8. That delta time isn't moving, though, is it? And they're all spread out now. As Santry getting lapped there by Owen. Or unlapping himself, actually. That looks like Santry on the intermediate tyre too. Has Huff and Dolbach closed up to Cottony Goblin? It'd be interesting to see that. He has closed up to Cottony Goblin. There was 17.8 seconds between the two of them. No, there's very interesting. Of course, it's only Huff and Dolbach's delta time that isn't working. Cottony picks up a 3-second time penalty for his trouble. .5 seconds between Huff and Dolbach and Cottony. There's Websy and Chris. Chris obviously struggling there as Websy picks up 5th place. He's on the medium tyres as well and starting to cut through the field. We've had Lex, Ace and Active JMC all DNF from this race. Active, the earliest one, I feel like it was in the first lap, in fact. No, it wasn't because he's got 5 laps of intermediate tyres. 6 lap then. Anyway, all of them DNF from this race. Anyone that finishes this race now will score points. But there are some massive gaps between the field as Websy sets the fastest lap of the race so far. It's a 1:41.408. And even though those intermediate tyres are working for Huff and Dolbach, surely that is your sign to come into the pits now and move on to the dry tyre. It was interesting, the fact that in the race, it was raining earlier on, the track dried up, but it didn't dry up. The rain stopped, but the track didn't dry up for 6 laps, 7 laps after the rain had stopped. And that played into the hands of this man right here, Binary, currently leading this race. Didn't start in first place, but right now he's leading this race by 20 seconds over Owen, and more importantly, scoring points on his championship rival. I'm Mr. JCJ. 10 points he will gain on him. Make that 11 as he sets the fastest lap of the race so far. It's gotten horribly wrong for everyone who decided to box. Huff and Dolbach does come into the pits. David Kovalaki is retired from the session, and it's a safety car. And everyone has breathed a sigh of relief. David Kovalaki out of this race. Well, that gap that Binary worked so hard to create, he played it all to perfection. Nobody had to jump on him. Absolutely everybody boxed. They all switched to dry tyres. It wasn't the time to switch to dry tyres. The tyre whisperer knew exactly when it was time to switch. About 7 laps later, he pulled out 40 seconds over the driver behind, boxed, came out 20 seconds ahead. Just had someone say that Lewis Hamilton has been replaced mid-season by Kimi Antonelli. I don't think that's true. Anyway, you give me a little bit of a heart attack there, to be honest with you. Anyway. Into the pits comes Binary, and he's just got these final. He's just got to take it on the chin, hasn't he? Just got to take it on the chin. There's nothing he can do about it now. He will come out in the lead of this race. He's on fresh intermediate. He's on. Keep saying that. He's on fresh medium tires. A couple of drivers have opted to go to the soft. The soft tyre doesn't really... It could work out. You would be safer going on to the medium. Because we're so late on in this race, though, there are still 8 laps to go, including this one. Because we're so late on in the race, maybe the safety car will come in earlier. Which means that these drivers have a mighty job to do. Some of them miles behind. But the field has closed back up. Or the field is closing back up. They've all got to make sure that they catch the crocodile before it's too late. Binary has been picked up by the safety car. We don't know when the safety car will come back in. More than likely after 3 laps of being out. CJ. BX10 will be breathing a sigh of relief. He started this race on pole position. He's now down in 4th after he did everything right apart from the one thing that was crucial. We started this race in absolute downpour. The clouds went away, but the rain went away, sorry, but the track just didn't dry up. It would not dry up. Binary, again, played a blinder. Took the intermediate tyres 7 laps longer than anybody else did. And created the gap, but now that gap has been shrunken down due to David Kovalaki DNFing from this race. Crashed out on lap 19. And that has caused this safety car now. And all the drivers will be breathing a sigh of relief. Binary still can do this. It's not exactly like he qualified low down. He qualified down in 4th. And he's now got the advantage over the rest of the field. And these drivers... Santry picks up a 10-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags. So that's going to be a massive, massive dent to his progress. That's essentially Santry out of this race, isn't it? Really, unless... I think he's tried to unlap himself. He's tried to unlap himself, hasn't he? And then it's all gone wrong for him. Picked up that 10-second penalty. Maybe he can get it removed if he can prove that he didn't deserve it. I mean, he should be allowed to unlap himself. But unsure. Anyway, more importantly, it's all about this fight for the championship. We're on round 19 of 24. As it stands, there will just be 5 points between CJ and Binary. Binary in 1st, CJ in 3rd. CJ can turn this all around. The drivers around Binary also can throw a spanner in the works for him. BX10, he'll feel that he should have won this race. He'll feel that he can still win this race. He's definitely got the pace to. Teammate Webbsy started 2nd. He's down in 6th. All these drivers very hungry and ready for this race to get back underway. And there's still a few that haven't caught the crocodile. They have not caught back up to the safety car. Especially Santry, who's going to be blitzing his tyres trying to get around this track as fast as possible. Before that safety car comes in. And they will get the message very soon. Is he going to go around for one more lap, maybe? It may just. It looks like he's going around for one more lap. So Santry, very lucky. Of course, here, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc both disqualified from the 2023 United States Grand Prix after both of their cars failed the post-scrutineering checks by the FIA. Hamilton finished in 2nd place, while Leclerc became the first pole sitter to be disqualified from a race since Ralf Schumacher at the 2004 Canadian Grand Prix. So both within the same continent. But Leclerc, unfortunately for him, disqualified from that race. It was for a plank failure, I believe. scrape the plank too much under an F1 car, there is a wooden plank that shows how low it's been run to the ground if the plank is worn to a certain extent. So if the plank gets, like, it's just a wooden plank under the car, if it gets a certain amount of wear, then the car will be disqualified because the FIA will have deemed that car to be running too close to the ground, which gains performance but also becomes dangerous as the car runs over curves, starts to plateau, and also can spin out because the floor can sometimes overtake the tyres in terms of which is making more contact with the ground. Sebastian Vettel made his debut at the United States Grand Prix, not this track though, in Indianapolis in 2007. He recorded one victory stateside in 2013. And what would you be thinking right now if you were Binary? You're leading this race. You didn't start on pole, but you know you've got pace. And you've got your championship rival just a couple places behind you. It's all about his race starters. COTA Goblin has just picked up a 10-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. He's accidentally overtaken a few drivers there. And the safety car coming in this lap. So the safety car will start to pull away from the drivers. It's now up to Binary to decide when this race goes. No overtaking though until each of them have crossed the start-finish line. So long as you cross the start-finish line, you can overtake, as Sanchi picks up a 3-second time penalty under the safety car conditions for multiple warnings. Binary weaving that car left and right, trying to put heat into the tyre, and he has gone. He's picked up the pace and he's pulled away from Owen exactly like he needed to, and it's taking Owen off guard. Owen is already 7/10 away, and CJ will be furious with Owen because CJ will be doing everything he can to catch Binary and to take the lead of this race to make sure that he doesn't lose that chunk of points that he's due to lose at the moment. But he's also got BXTN behind him as well. CJ very much in damage control as they all go through turn one fairly cleanly. Huff and Dolbach makes his way past COTA Goblin, who does have that 10-second time penalty to his name. Huff and Dolbach probably with a 3-second there, and BXTN closing in on CJ, but the two of them are gaining on Owen, aren't they? Who's already picking up the pace. He's already pulled back 6/10 to Binary. Binary very much has a job to do here. He's got a job on his hands. No DRS for this lap, so DRS will be only activated on the next lap, and they won't get it on the start-finish straight as they go through. As CJ tries to make his way up past Owen and goes on the inside, but doesn't make the overtake. He's now slipped in back behind Owen's car, and he's trying to deploy that battery as much as he can and get it done early. BXTN looking on the outside. CJ moving back to the braking zone. Moving back to the racing line. Little clip there from BXTN. Still keeps his front wing though. A big puff of smoke as CJ keeps locking his tyres. Desperately trying to stick with this pack. If he can get Owen between him and BXTN, that is for BXTN to overtake him and ruin all of his potential progress. And it's CJ with the fastest lap of the race so far, a 33.9, and it just proves that he has got that pace, and BXTN as well doesn't actually match him. So the pole sitter at the moment actually deep into the corner as well. That's going to put BX under pressure from Chris. And can Chris come into play for the win of this race? We're on lap 25 of 28. The laps are ticking down. CJ's got 3 seconds of time penalties. They're all due to move down. CJ essentially just wants to overtake Owen. He's just Owen on his list. If he does get past Binary, that'll be a bonus. But Binary running away with it. Or is he? Owen, 2/10 behind on the start-finish straight. He's got DRS. He moves to the inside. He's going to take it on turn 12. And he does so very easily. Moves past Binary, who's just lost first place that he worked so hard for. The strategy paid off so well, and then that late safety car ruined everything for him. Game is kind of quiet. I can turn the game up. Let me know if that's better as we rejoin, and CJ closing in on I'm Mr. DJ. CJ closing in on Binary. Binary losing first place and losing ground. And Owen's got the fastest lap of the race so far as he starts to run away with potentially it may be Owen's first win of the season. Yet to win at all this season in RCR. And he's now leading the race on lap 26 of 28. But DRS may prove too powerful to defend against. Owen 5/10 ahead of Binary. Binary just has to keep within touching distance. Owen's going to try and desperately break out a DRS and then pull away. He's definitely got the pace to do so, but he's going to have to pull 3 seconds ahead. Let's have a look at the penalties actually, just to make sure. Owen's got 6 seconds, so he's got a massive job to do. Never mind. And Binary also retakes the lead from Owen. There's me calling it all as if Owen's going to win. He's got 6 seconds of penalties. The boyhood dream has not realised as Sancho retires from the session, and we can't tell what's happened there. He's obviously retired from a crash on track, but we're going to get no safety car. It's too late in the race. CJ is going to take second from Owen as it stands. Chris has just gained a place and picked up a 10-second time penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. So many penalties here. Look at that. BX10 with 13 seconds. Courtney with 13 seconds. Chris now with 10. And we've got only 8 races left in this session. It's absolutely chaos. As Chris DNS from the session. What's happened there? Has he just... He's just given up? No, he's coming to... Yeah, he's given up. He's coming to the pits. And he's retired from the session. I don't know why you would DNF when you've got points on the table. Why would you DNF when you've got points on the table? Obviously, in a fit of rage, as Binary leads this race once more. He's got Owen behind him, who's desperately trying to get past. Maybe Owen just wants the accolade of doing it on track. But at the moment, as it stands, Owen is due to drop down to third place. It'll still be a podium. Oh, he dropped down even further than that one. He dropped down to fourth. Websy, he's catching up to CJ. 1.1 seconds between the two of them. It's going to be Websy and Binary. Websy, sorry. First and second as it stands. We're on lap 27 of 28. Just 7 drivers left in this session. Some of them retiring in the pits. I think David Kovalaki. Oh, it was Lex who retired in the pit lane. And so did Chris. Others crashing out and causing safety cars. We had 2 safety cars in this race so far. And we're Binary at the moment, scoring the full 25 points that he needs, plus the fastest lap. But I think that has gone to CJ at the moment. CJ doing all he can to damage control in these late stages of the race. And anything can still happen. We've seen drivers crash out early on and late on. Binary, it looks like he's resigning. 2 second on track. Owen pulling away. 8/10 just becomes 4. We're coming through sector 3 now. Round turn 15 to go. The tricky turn 15. They've done it 28 times now. Owen on track will be finishing first, but it is this man who played this race absolutely perfectly, even with the safety car disruption that ruined a perfect strategy. He still could not be beaten. Binary rounds out the final corner. Owen just ahead of him, but it won't matter because Owen's got plenty of penalties. Binary wins the United States Grand Prix, pulling ahead of CJ. CJ in second place, Owen in third, Websy fourth. CJ with some massive damage control there, damage limitation, to finish second place. Huff and Dolbach fifth, BXTN sixth, and Cottony Goblin in seventh. Those that finished, those that DNF'd from the race late on may still get points due to the 90% rule that Formula One usually, I think it's 95% rule that Formula One usually runs. However, that is and Owen massively with that driver of the day. Unfortunately for him though, he did get 6 seconds of penalties. If it were up to me, I'd say the driver of the day is Binary. And I think that is a very simple way of looking at it, because obviously he won the race, but it's the way that he won the race. Didn't start in first place, earned it, did it all on track. There was rain late on. If you're just joining us, there was rain in the early stages of the race. The rain cleared up, but the track didn't dry. Every driver went into the pits apart from Binary. And Websy as well, but Websy still went in earlier. Binary went for about 4 more laps, pulled out a massive gap, 40 seconds over everybody else, and manages to win this race in absolute style. So then, there are your race finishes, and CJ actually didn't pick up the fastest lap of the race. Here we go then. So Binary wins the United States Grand Prix round 19 of RCR Season 5. He's joined on the podium by I Mr. DJ CJ, who massively limits the damage done to his championship lead. Just 7 points gained from Binary, who's now just 8 points behind in the championship in these late stages. Owen and Websy third and fourth, Huff and Dolbeck, BXTN, Cotton the Goblin, Chris Takis, Santry, and David Kovalaki in 10th. Lex, Ace, and Active 13th. Fastest lap goes to Owen, who picks up that point and gains 16 points for his trouble, although Owen very much out of this driver's championship. Unfortunately, I can see that we've now got 14 viewers. Unfortunately, that's the end of the race, and that is the end of the coverage for this race. If you would like to join, though, don't forget to follow. I would really appreciate a follow. I'd really appreciate a like if you are on YouTube. However, either way, entirely up to you. Thank you very much, everybody who watched. Thank you, everybody who followed. And I'll see you again next time on the Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. next week. We are racing at Mexico. See you again next time. Bye-bye for now.